Nothing evokes a beautiful woodland setting more than a beautiful stand of ferns growing underneath the trees, cooling down the look in our summer times. Ferns are magical plants, and today we have lots of magic on the set. I'm joined by Darla Harris from Fern Plantation in Magnolia, Texas. Thanks for making the trek to Austin.
Thank you.
And thank you especially for bringing this amazing plethora of gorgeous plants, most of which we've never talked about on the show. Why ferns?
For me, ferns are their own beauty. I don't have to wait for that bloom once a year or twice a year.
It's true.
They always have that texture and color.
There's something cooling and soothing about these plants. It's like a relaxed feeling when you see a good stand of fern in the garden. And you've brought some that I would never mistake for a fern. This is one with this hard, waxy leaf. Hardly looks fern-like at all. Tell me a little bit about this amazing specimen.
Well, this is a heart fern, and you can tell by its leaves there. It's not cold hardy for us, so it really works well in the house.
Okay.
One of the tests for ferns for a house plant is to actually feel the texture of the leaf. And as you can feel, this is very leathery.
Yeah.
It's very thick, so it
Right.
can take that low humidity in the homes.
Okay, yeah, and the plasticity, if you will, is a way of not losing the moisture. They
Exactly.
lock it in, right? Well, this is beautiful. Heart fern is the common name. I love the stems. I love the shape of the leaves. Just beautiful, really kind of stunning. We're going to make a kind of a big transition in terms of plants. This is indoors. And those of us in Central Texas, you know, with our heat and our caliche soils, et cetera, we can grow ferns as well. And this is a native variety, and this is called cloak fern. Tell me a little bit about cloak fern.
Well, the cloak fern can take more sun outside than a lot of ferns can. So that makes it very good. It does well in our warm climate, takes our cold weather. It normally will nestle itself up against rocks that kind of
Exactly.
protects its root system. It also will build kind of a condensation area in there, kind of self-waters. And as you can see with the silverness to it, it
Yeah.
helps reflect that sunlight to help
Right.
protect itself.
Tiny little inflorescence, if you will, on the foliage. And this is one that I remember when I first encountered it as a native, seeing it in the hill country, I was thinking, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, especially the location was in this rocky, dry place.
Exactly.
But, where there's a will, there's a way, right? Well, you've brought a stunning variety of things. And this one, as soon as you showed this to us here in the studio, all the gardeners lit up. Like, tell me about this plant.
Well, this one is an Asian native. They call it the eyelash fern.
Good
it
name.
really looks like it.
Yes, absolutely, yes.
It is also a very good house plant for us. It really hates high humidity. So in our homes, we usually have either the air conditioner on or the heater
course,
on.
right.
So for good things for the house is harder to find in ferns.
Well, eyelash fern is a great name for it. And it, again, it's one of those things where, like, this is a fern?
Exactly. It does like to stay evenly moist, and that's really the size it's ever going to be. So
Okay.
it's a small fern.
Really perfect for a windowsill or some place like that. Well, there are lots of different forms, and this is one of the painted ferns.
It is one that has actually been really crossed with our native lady fern.
I'm going to bring that over so you can see them side by side.
We've had a problem with growing some of the paint ferns because they don't like our summers. And oftentimes they'll go down for summer. Well,
Right.
this one, having been crossed with the Texas native, actually stays up all summer for
Okay.
us. And under the right conditions, this painted fern can get 3 to 4 foot tall.
It reminds me to ask, a lot of people, when they see ferns, they'll see these spots under the leaves, and they think, oh my gosh, this is infested with something. Those are spores, right?
That's correct.
So
They're
that's part of the,
reproductive.
yeah, not to worry too much when they see that, or at all when they see that on a fern. The color on this one, I absolutely am crazy about. This is gorgeous blue quality to it. Typically, I would think a bluish plant means that it doesn't need as much moisture, but in this case, I'm mistaken, right?
It actually is a rhizomerous type, so
Okay.
it really is very shallow rooted. So it can take just moist soil. It doesn't want to dry completely out.
Gotcha.
But it doesn't want over wet either. It doesn't take a lot of sun though. It really, with that bluing on the leaf, it really does better in a little more dapple
Okay.
shade.
We have a plant in a tall planter over here that I'm calling dragon fern, just because I want to. I have no idea what it's actually called. Tell me a little bit about this plant.
Well, that's a Drinaria. In nature, it's epiphytic.
Okay.
So I have it growing in just a sphagnous moss basket. It actually forms two sets of different kinds of fronds. So you have your basket, the brown ones, that are your sterile fronds,
Right.
and then those real pretty serrated tops are your fertile fronds, which will
Okay.
have your spore.
And another one that is very striking right below that is the elephant
Totus.
Totus, okay. Elephant totus, and again, as unfern-like as I can almost imagine.
Well, it is one of the 18 species of staghorn ferns.
Right.
So this one has those really wide, long ears.
Lettuce-like. Oh, that's where the elephant
Yes,
comes
the
from.
elephant ears.
Of course, yeah.
So it's one of those really nice ones. It puts off a lot of babies, so it really fills out an area very fast.
Yeah, well, really striking and beautiful. And tell me real quickly, when you're fertilizing these, when I think of ferns, I always think of like a gentle nitrogen kind of based fertilizer like fish emulsion, but maybe even water down a little extra.
Typically, fertilize is not needed on ferns. They're baskets, and the way they mulch in, they really break down a lot of it themselves.
Okay.
But you can use like a quarter strength fertilizer on them, or fish emulsion or seaweed. And those are fine. They won't burn even if you don't
Yeah.
water them down.
Okay, very good. Well, I remember that from my nursery days, the people warning me about they're sensitive
Don't
to
burn 'em.
too much. Okay, very
Yep.
good. Well, maidenhairs are another native that I'm absolutely crazy about. You brought a group of different related plants in the maidenhair family, some of them ultra fine, some of them quite bold looking.
The big leafed one is a silver dollar maidenhair. It's actually from Peru. It's really not cold hardy for us here. It likes to really be protected about
Sure.
40.
Okay.
But the other ones are actually all cold hardy for us. The very, very fine one is just a striking contrast of the family. And then we, of course, have the one that's a multiple fingered maidenhair.
Yeah.
So there's
And I always think of these growing on rock faces and drippy places, just some of the most magical places on earth, really. And this is the plant answer to, or response to those beautiful, beautiful grotto-like settings.
And that's a good point because they always grow around the streams, not in them. Maidenhair are very susceptible to overwatering.
Ah, so it's the splash they're looking
Yes.
for, right?
And we provide good humidity for them.
We have this year, that's for sure. And I'm busy inventing common names for this. The next plant we want to talk about is curly sword fern. That's what Tom calls it anyway. Tell me about curly. I'm going to put my stamp on this one.
Okay, well, it is in the Boston family, and it is one of the ones that actually works well with more sun.
Okay.
So we always have those yards where you have that spot that just gets more sun,
Yeah.
and that's one of those ferns that will actually take it.
Right. And so when you say take it, it's like a few hours of direct sun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it
That's
will.
pretty good.
That is good for
in
ferns.
Texas, and especially in Texas, right? So moving from that, we have the autumn fern.
Yes.
And tell me a little bit about that.
The autumn fern is a great fern for us. It gets about 3 foot tall. It's a nice clumping fern. It always has the new foliage coming out in autumn colors with your oranges and yellows before it turns into the darker green. So it's a really great evergreen for us.
Well, we have so many to choose from. Right behind the autumn fern is a bird's nest fern, or one that is like a bird's nest. Tell me a little bit about this.
Okay, that is what they call the American bird's nest because it is from the Americas. It is in the same family as the normal bird's nest that we think of. It also has the same pretty much growing requirements. It can be put in the ground. It is ground hardy for us. Actually, the other bird's nest, if you get the Japanese ones, they're actually cold hardy forests too.
Wow, I never knew that.
Yeah,
They look so delicate.
we got down to 17 in Houston, 2 years ago, and we had people that accidentally forgot them.
Yeah.
They got a little frond damage, that was it.
Oh,
We
well,
were under
amazing.
freezing 3 days. That's
Wow.
pretty impressive.
Right. Okay, real briefly, you brought a dwarf tree fern. I want people to see this.
Okay.
So, and again, real brief.
The dwarf tree fern will get about 3 foot tall. It has such a beautiful cylinder growth. It is ground hardy for us. It can take full morning sun, take bright conditions, no full west sun though. It's just
Okay.
too much for it.
Thank you so much for
You're
coming
very
over to
welcome.
Austin and being part of Central Texas Gardener.
Thank you.
All right, and that is plantation.
Fern
Fern
plantation.
plantation in
in
Magnolia,
Magnolia.
Texas. All right, and coming up next, it's Daphne.